Hi, welcome to Rise Up and Heal, the podcast show that helps you reclaim your worth, rewrite your story, and heal forward. You are not broken, you are becoming. On today's episode, I have special guest Brooke Bownes, the Breakthrough Queen. Brooke is an author of You Can Have It. She is a speaker, a coach, a therapist, and a businesswoman. Brooke, thank you so much for joining Rise Up and Heal today. Can you please share your story with everyone and tell us how you have become the Breakthrough Queen?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. It's been really nice. Yes, it's interesting. The Breakthrough Queen actually happened because a couple of my clients kind of called me that, and I kind of just took that on and owned it because they said that they'd had the issues for years and things that were holding them back, and they never was be able to get to the bottom of it because of the work they did with me. They were able to break through that and actually go and do the things that they wanted to do. So I thought, okay, well, quite a great name. I quite liked it, so I owned it. Um, and like you said, yes, I'm a speaker, author, best-selling author, and coach. And I wrote the book, as you said, You Can Have It: How to Break Through the Self-Sabotage Cycle. And it's actually the 12 steps I use to break through my own self-sabotage cycle. But life wasn't always like that. I've got a great life now that I've created, and I love your intro about, claiming your worth and rewriting your story because that's exactly what I did. So it's like I love the fact that I'm coming on this podcast to talk with you about it because life started off quite traumatic, and I'm not saying that to like as a drama queen, but actually I was born with a cord wrapped around my neck. So, you know, it was a bit touch and go whether I actually survived that. But what happened was due to the complications of my birth, it ended up that having the cord wrapped around my neck, the whole right of my side was weaker than my left. So the doctors told my parents I'd probably never walk, and if I did, I wouldn't run or ride a bike. So you can imagine my parents were devastated, and my mother was just didn't like that at all because she's actually a narcissist, and I wasn't a perfect child in her eyes. So I grew up with her saying to me, "I wish you were normal like all the other kids. Nobody's gonna ever love you. I wish you'd have died at birth. You're never going to amount to anything, and you're just an ugly child." So you
Oh,
can imagine
yeah.
my my beliefs growing up. I had no confidence, no self-esteem whatsoever. And I remember learning to walk, and I was a bit later than most kids. And we went back to see the doctor at the hospital. And I bear in mind I was born in the late 60s, so this is early 70s, where they were like, "Well, that's just not going to happen," kind of thing. And he said, "We're really amazed that you've actually learned to walk, but you're not going to be able to run or ride a bike because if you start to run, your right side isn't going to be able to cope with it, and you're going to fall over, lose your balance and fall over." And he said, "And you'll never ride a bike because you won't be able to hold the handlebars and pedal the pedals with your right side." But to my little mind was like, all the other kids can ride their bikes and they're normal. So if I learn to ride my bike, I'll be normal and then my mum will love me. But obviously, I didn't understand at the time that she was a narcissist, but that was my little mindset. And I was quite a determined child, and I just stood up with my hands on my hips and kind of said to him, "I will learn to ride my bike, and I'll come back and show you." And my dad's like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll get you to ride your bike." And my mum just shot me a look, and I thought, I'm in trouble. I knew I was in trouble. There was silence in the car on the way home. And when I got back home, my dad got changed and went off to work because he's a farmer. And she said to me, go get changed because we had to wear our like Sunday best to go to hospital to be seen to be like perfect and wonderful. And when I came out the bedroom, she absolutely went mad at me. She said, "How dare you embarrass me in front of the doctors? Who the hell do you think you are? You're nothing. You're useless." And she really like physically and verbally like really laid into me. And I can remember Karen like this and going, "Okay, I need to like be quiet and stay small just to stay safe." And my personality changed just like that. And I became really scared and thought I just constantly like checking to see if I could actually speak and say anything and see how she was feeling. So I grew up as a huge people pleaser, not daring to say anything, not daring to speak out. And then I did the classic of going from a narcissistic parent to going into a narcissistic relationship, like out of the frying pan into the fire, because I thought that was just, the people I kind of attracted. Um, we ended up getting buying a house together, and then one day he lost his temper and he stuck a knife in the worktop, and he stuck it in so hard it actually busted the tip of the knife off. And I said, I'm done. I can't live with somebody volatile like that. I grew up like that. I said, I'm not doing it. Then he said to me, he said, well, he said, it's your fault I did that because I don't feel secure because we're not married. Bearing in mind I was 18 at the time and had no self-esteem. So if we get married, everything will be fine. So I went, oh, okay, as you do, being that naive. We got married, and 3 months after that, he lost his temper again. He picked me up, threw me against the wardrobe, and I got concussion and whiplash because he threw me so hard my head ricocheted. So I said, that's it, I'm done. But my mother was like, no, you made your bed, you lie in it. And she tried to get everybody around saying, like, you need to like work through this. People in our family don't get divorced. You're going to bring shame on my family, all that sort of thing. So I ended up staying with a colleague from work and sharing a bedroom with a 7-year-old little girl because he'd isolated me from all my friends and I had nowhere else to go. And my dad said, yeah, you can come back home. But my mum said, no, it's not happening. You've got to stay there and stay married. And so I then went into that stage of like working on my mindset, thinking, okay, I'm the common thing here. If I change how I feel about me, maybe I've attracted nicer people into my life. So I went on this voyage of like working on my mindset. I had a very, very strong mindset like that. Feel that fear and do it anyway. And then one day I was stood at the back of a hall getting all mic'd up to go and do a talk on stage. Now my mind was like, yeah, we can do this. Like looking forward to sharing my story. And my body was going, no, this is really, really scary. And I was like heart pounding, palms sweating, feeling sick. I thought, there's something I'm not quite getting here. There's something missing. So then I got into to realizing about how trauma gets stuck in the body and how your inner child feels and all the inner child work, and that if you don't deal with the trauma that you've had and process it, your inner child just keeps reliving it as though they're like that 5, 6 year old.
Yeah.
So my inner child was going, no, 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 because when we speak out, we get into trouble. We can't do this. So that's why my body was reacting that way. So I went on a journey of like releasing all the trauma that was trapped in my body. And it was, the cliche, I know, like the missing piece of the jigsaw. But once I did that, that was it. Now it's like I feel the fear, find out where that fear's come from, process it, then go and enjoy doing whatever I want to do. Now I love speaking on stage and my body doesn't react yet. It gets the initial like bit of nerves and like, because I want to, do a good job and help people, but it's not having that really visceral reaction that you used to have. And now I love doing talks and like podcasts. And as you can tell, I have no fear of like talking to people and saying sharing my story. So yeah, it's been a journey, but
Oh,
now I actually help people to break through their beliefs that hold them back. Even if people say to me, well, actually, I had really kind, loving parents, and I always celebrate that because that's a lovely thought to have. But often we hear things, especially with women of my generation, we grew up with saying, good girls don't get angry, only speak when you're spoken to, children should be seen and not heard, and all those things. It stops women having a voice and saying what they want to say and speaking out at meetings or talking to their ideal client, whatever it is they want to do. So I'm on a mission to actually help as many women as possible feel confident to be themselves, be seen and heard, and have fun in the process.
yeah. And I think that's so important because look, I love that. Like I love that you are such an advocate for women in doing what you do. And I think also it's really interesting too, like you were saying, and I think a lot of people have gone through this too, where, they've heard that thing, or you need to stay in that marriage. You need to, you know, you're putting shame on the family if you get divorced and you made your bed and you need to lie in it. And I think that also when we have, I guess, when you've got family members who are telling you that, when you have sort of got that isolation happening, where everybody is sort of like, no, 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 you need to stay, you need to stay, that you feel so trapped and you feel so torn because you feel like a failure. You feel so ashamed. You feel like, you are the common denominator, and maybe everything that is wrong is actually it's because of you. But
Yeah,
the truth is, it's not you. I mean, we all have faults. We
yeah,
all have patterns that need to be broken. We have things in life that we have done that we are not proud of. We've made choices where we are probably gone, yeah, that probably wasn't a great choice. But I love how now, like, you are teaching women to break through that, and how you're having these conversations, and especially with your inner child, where you're
yeah,
noticing and listening to your body. And I think that is one of the biggest things. I actually think it's probably one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves, is to listen to your body, because it is
yeah,
reacting for whatever reason, and it will be stemming from something that has occurred in the past. And especially when we step out of those abusive relationships, we suffer with PTSD. Our nervous system is absolutely shot to pieces. And
yeah.
I even know for me as a child, I was a nervous child. I still get nervous. I still feel my body get anxious and stuff like that. Because like you, I was also such a people pleaser. And of course, when you're such a people pleaser, you allow yourself to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, I can remember when my husband um that I've got now, I won't say current husband because when I say that, that says I'm looking for um he when we first moved in together, he was very, very light on his feet, and I was making a cup of tea in the kitchen, and I thought he was upstairs, and for him to come into the kitchen, he has to come down the stairs and through the front room and into the kitchen. So I'm just busily making a cup of tea, thinking he's upstairs, and all of a sudden he's beside me going, "Oh, I'll have a cuppa." And I literally went, "Oh my goodness." And he's like, "Oh my goodness." He said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to like scare you and make you jump." And I said, "No, no, no, that's okay, no problem." But after that, he said, "Oh my goodness." He said, "That's like, like a PTSD response." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." I said, "Because my mother used to like hide and like jump out at me or just appear and like scream in my face." I said, "So I've had that ever since I was a child." And now if he's upstairs, although we've moved to a different house now, like he used to come down the stairs and go, "Just to let you know, I'm heading to the kitchen." Because he said, "I just don't ever want you to like react like that." I said, "Yeah, but I said it wasn't you." I said, "It's just kind
Yeah.
of the things that." I mean, I don't react like that now, but that was like, 15 years ago when we first got together, sort of thing. But it's how it comes out, and realize that because I ended up with having complex PTSD because of my childhood and the marriage and stuff. So is that we think, oh well, I'm okay, but actually, if you're having those kind of reactions, it's like, yes, there's something deeper there that actually does need to be processed, and it can be healed and sorted, because I'm living proof of that, and all my clients are as well, that have gone through similar sort of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is when you can, like, when something happens, and even just recently, I was working with somebody, and you could just feel the anger and that sort of within her, and it was really triggering me because I could feel it here. And I was like, I'm thinking, what is it? Like, what is it that, because part of that is releasing your anger. Because I always say to my clients, it's so important just to really release that anger. Do not have um it stored in your body. And of course, with her releasing, what was really interesting was it triggered me. So then that was for me, I was like, you know what, this is a really good learning thing for me too, to sit back and go, okay, what was it that triggered me? like, why was that triggering me? Because I always ask myself those questions now. And I think that's the biggest thing, is really recognizing and starting to peel back those layers and working through that, just to find out A, what the trigger is, and then B, the best way to help you heal and to get through it. So what are some things that you have done on your healing journey that, you know, you're now right, you've written your best-selling book of You Can Have It, but like, what are some of the things that you did in the very beginning, in those initial stages?
Well, like I said, I worked really, really heavily on my mindset. And it was interesting because I always wanted to be a mum, because I thought I'm going to be a great mum because I'm just going to do the opposite of what she did. So it wouldn't be a difficult thing to do. And I had two boys. And then I got pregnant with my third child. And a friend who hadn't seen me for ages happened to see me as I was coming out of a supermarket. And she just innocently remarked and said, "Oh, I bet you'd love to have a little girl this time." And I suddenly went, "Oh my goodness, no," because the thought of having a little girl and not having a great relationship with her like I had with my mother, and my mother didn't have a great relationship with my grandmother, I was like, no, no, I'd be quite happy to have another little boy. But I did actually go on to have two girls, and they're actually my best friends now. So that's all good. I have actually broke that cycle, which is amazing. But what I did was is like start kind of tapping back into how I felt and my intuition, because as a child I had really good intuition, but I buried that because everything I said she would contradict and say, "Oh no, don't even think about that, you're being stupid," or whatever. So I thought, oh, okay. So I thought, well, I can't say that because it used to trigger her off for some reason. And it's like you said, that feedback, it's noticing what's going on with your body, because our emotions, there is no good or bad emotions. They are just giving us, our body giving us feedback, letting us know how we feel. So if we feel really angry about something, I always get my clients, and I do it myself, that get curious to say, okay, why am I feeling angry? Where's that anger come from? What's the story behind that? And then when we can start getting like that and thinking, because how I work with like a lot with working with people's inner child. And when anger comes up, that's like a protector part. The inner child's called the anger in because we want to do something that our inner child's like, no, that doesn't feel safe. I don't feel good enough. So they will bring like anger in, or procrastination, or perfectionism, or self-doubt. They're the big ones normally that come in to stop us doing what we really want to do. So it's like, okay, so why is my inner child bringing in the anger part? Because even though being angry can sometimes feel painful, it's less painful for the inner child to feel anger than it is for us to actually go and do whatever it was that we wanted to do. So it's just really getting curious. And when we start doing that, we don't see ourselves as an angry person. We think, okay, an angry part of me's come up. So there's something, I need to like deal with and sort out. And when you can start looking at your life like that, and your body reacting like that, you can then work out, okay, right, that story came from when XYZ happened. Okay, right. So that makes sense why it's triggered me off right now. You know, like smells can trigger people off and make people upset.
Yeah.
They're a really big thing, or hearing a certain phrase would trigger people off. Like when I was a child, because my mother kept saying, "Oh, you're not normal, you're really, really weird." I desperately wanted to be normal. So if anybody say I was weird at school, I would get so angry.
Yeah.
But I've actually flipped that round now because I quite enjoy being weird now. It's like I don't really want to be normal. So if somebody calls me weird now, I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But it's when we feel like angry about something, it's something triggered inside of us. So that, okay, what's been triggered off? How's our inner child really feeling? And how I help my clients is we then do a load of work with the inner child, and I help them to connect with their inner child. And it often ends in my clients crying, which is great because that's a great way of releasing stuff from our bodies. And that, like, oh, I didn't expect them tears to like appear, but I do pre-warn my clients now that there's probably going to be tears. And it's quite funny because the ones that normally say, "Oh no, I don't cry," they're the ones that are the first ones to end up in tears. But tears are just releasing what's stuck in our body, so it's a great thing to do. So yeah, it's curiosity is one of the things that I always get my clients to So, yeah, okay. Don't think, oh, I'm really frustrated that I'm angry. I'm really annoyed with myself. I'm angry. Think, okay, I've got some anger come up. Where's that come from? What's the story about that? Why am I feeling triggered right now? What is it about this person or this situation that's triggering me? And then you can stay in that logical part of your brain, because the minute you get really angry, upset, you're in that flight, fright, or freeze, and you're in that reactive mode rather than a responsive mode.
Yeah, exactly. And that is so true too, because you do, and it's just really getting yourself to that point just to actually just have that conversation. And of course, the most important thing is not to berate yourself in any way, shape, or form and go, I don't have the right to feel angry, or I shouldn't be doing this. You know what? You are who you are. And it really is about releasing your emotions in a really safe and secure way. It's so important to do that. Are you able to share with us about your book, You Can Have It? Because you were saying you've got your own steps that you used within your book. Are there things out of your book that you could share with us?
Yeah, actually, what I did was I love reading books and things. I thought, but a lot of the self-development books, kind of, I used to read them and think, okay, right. But what I wanted people to do is actually sort of like think about the chapter. So at the end of each chapter, I've got an exercise for people to do so they can really embed what they've just learned in the chapter previously. So the first chapter is all about self-talk. You know, our self-talk gives us so much information. What we say to ourselves, like, especially when we wake up first thing in the morning, like, oh yeah, I'm not good enough to do that. I'm dreading this meeting because I've got to speak to that person, and they're so much better than me or whatever. It's really noticing our self-talk. When I talk about one of my clients in there in my book who said, oh, life is just so hard. I'm like, well, tell me about it. And she said, well, this is hard, that's hard, that's hard. And I actually said to her, then how many times do you think you said the word hard? And she just kind of looked at me and said, she probably a lot, because you've just asked me that question, but I have no idea. And that is the thing. When we talk to ourselves, the things we say the most, our subconscious mind thinks, oh, that's what you want more of. So it will give you more of them. So
Exactly.
it's thinking about how you feel. I mean, I used to wake up and think, oh, my goodness, it's like, I'm going to be terrible today. I've got this to do, that, I'm going to be absolutely rubbish at it. My self-talk was terrible. But
Yeah.
now I wake up and actually say, I'm amazing. It's an amazing day and something amazing is going to happen. So my mind looks at those amazing things. And it's a bit like if you decide to buy a new car, whatever make and model and color you decide to buy, you suddenly see them everywhere. And it's not because that particular car company thought, oh, Brooke wants to buy a new car, and we'll put loads of those on the road. It's just because we've raised our awareness about it. So it's like once you raise your awareness about what you're saying, like I've had quite a few clients come to me and say, oh, I'm sick of being in debt. And they constantly talk about debt. So if you're going to constantly talk about debt, your subconscious mind is like, oh, she wants more debt. So we'll find ways of creating more debt for her. So it's thinking about actually, instead of what we don't want, because a lot of my clients come to me and I say, what do you want to do in your life going forward? They're like, I don't know. Nobody's asked me that question. It's okay, like, what don't you want? And we then flip it around. I said, okay, like, focus on the things that you do want, because you can't focus on the things you do want and the things you don't want at the same time. Your brain can't do the same two things at the same time. So if we focus more on the things that we do want to have and how we feel, and then we can notice, like, if we say, right, I want to earn, I don't know, £100,000 a year, and then you suddenly feel, oh no, that's like too much. You can notice the reaction in your body, notice where that story comes from, and then you can go into like, where's my money story come from?
Yeah.
And get again back to that curiosity again, because our body is always giving us feedback and letting us know how we feel. So it is really tuning into ourselves and being very, very aware of what and how we work. It's not changing us as a personality, but it's changing the beliefs. And I always say to my clients that there's nothing wrong with us. We don't need fixing. We're not broken. It's just that we've got layers and layers of beliefs that we've been given and inherited from other people that we've taken on as our own. I've had quite a few clients come to me and say, I'm really stupid. I'm like, okay, what makes you say that? I said, well, I heard my auntie say that my sister was the clever one. So therefore I must be the stupid one because children see things very, very black and white and often add up two and two and come up with five. But when I say to them, well, how about that both of you were clever? And they look at me and think, oh, and that never even entered my mind because as a child, I always thought I was a stupid one because my sister was clever. And when we repeat those things, it becomes our truth and our belief, and we become that. Again, like another client I talked about in my book, where she was doing a sum on the board, and the teacher said, "That's completely wrong. You're useless," and threw the board rubber at her in front of all the children at school. I mean, this is back in the early 70s, and she was like, I'm useless at maths. And she carried that with her up until she was in her 50s when she wanted to do a maths exam to get a promotion. And she called me into work. She said, I need to like stop this belief about my maths, but how do I do it? And it was quite funny though, really, because she said to me, I've got to do a maths and an English exam. I said, well, do you want some help with the English? She went, no, I'm great at English. And she phoned me up a little while later. You never believe it. She said, I passed my maths with flying colours and I failed my English. She said, I should have probably got you to help me with my English. But it was, she
Yeah.
was really, really good at maths. But
Yeah.
that inner child story was still going on 50 years later. And we don't tend to update our belief system and our mindset like we do our computers. You know, we wouldn't run a computer that was running on like what was happening like 40 years ago, but we do that with ourselves. And also, like with the amount of women I've had come to say to me, well, I do this because it's always been done that way in my family. I said, yeah, but is that working for you? It may have worked for your great grandmother or your grandmother even, but does it work for you right now? Well, no, not really, but I can't change it, can I? Because it's always been done that way. Who says you can't change it?
That's
And
right.
I do really like sort of question them and get them to think about actually what is stopping me changing? Because we don't with it, oh well, it's always been done that way, so we just carry on. And even if it's not suiting us and it's actually making our life more difficult, we don't change it. Because
Yeah.
yeah, what will people think of us? That's another big one that a lot of my clients come to. Because parents will say, not mean to, oh, you can't wear that because what will people think? And
Exactly.
that's because of their own inner child, and they're worrying about what people think of you if you wear, something that doesn't look like it's matching. People think that you're not a good parent, so your inner child isn't feeling good enough as a parent. So yeah, you can't possibly wear that outfit. You need to like go change and wear something that's kind of suitable.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's really amazing. And I think it's it's sort of like it's ingrained in us, in the sense of, from such a young age, all of these messages that we're getting. And I love how, in the morning when you wake up, like you're already affirming and pouring self-love and care into you, like in for you. Because I know myself, I used to wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't want to get out of bed. Oh God, I gotta go to work. Oh, geez, oh, I've got to do this. And then you'd go into the bathroom, you'd be like, oh my God, you look like hell. You've got, oh gee, like, and just continually criticize myself. And I actually don't do that anymore.
Good.
And it makes such a difference. So for me, when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, thanks for a great night's sleep. And I've got my arms open. I'm like, I am open and receptive to all good in the universe, which is something that I learned through Louise Hay. Um, and so it's so important that, well, I think the key thing is number one, just stop criticizing yourself, or just actually
Yeah.
notice that self-talk. Notice what you're saying, because it doesn't have to be true. Who says it is true? Doesn't mean to say it actually is
Yeah.
true. It'll be true
I
if you believe it to be true.
and I always say to my clients, okay, tell me what you think about yourself.
Yeah.
And they go, well, honestly, I'm like, yeah, tell me what you think and what you say to them. And they'll reel it all off. I'm like, okay, I said, would you say that's your best friend?
Yeah.
Well, no, because she's like amazing. It's like, yeah, I said, but maybe your friend, has put on a bit of weight and got some wobbly bits. Maybe she made a silly mistake. Maybe she's a bit clumsy. Oh yeah, well, that doesn't make her any less of a person. So yeah, but would you point all those things out? She, well, no, because she's a wonderful person. Yeah, but we do that with ourselves. And I said, we need to change the script. Like you say, rewrite the story. Be your biggest cheerleader. You know,
Absolutely.
if we can learn so much from children, like when children are younger, and we get these mixed messages. And I told a story once. It was sometime I think last year. I was in a cafe, and there was a little boy saying to his mum, I want to wee, I want to wee." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, good boy, well done for saying." Took him off to the toilet to have a wee. Came back and he went, "I want that cake." She went, "I want don't get." And I could see the confused look on his face. Like one minute he was being praised for saying, "I want a wee," but he wasn't being praised for saying what he wanted to have to eat.
Yeah.
And it's like, and we then grow up with these mixed messages and think, okay, well, I can't ask for that. I can't say what I want to have. And I can't say, yeah, well done, me, because then we get, oh, you're getting too big for your boots. People don't like a show off. And so we make ourselves smaller and smaller and don't celebrate the great things that are happening. Well, who does she think she is celebrating herself?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is really important. It's so funny. I went to this training thing. This was going back years ago. It's in network marketing. And one of the things that the trainer had everybody do was they would call your name out, okay, before you go on break, and you'd have to go up on stage and basically stand up on stage and say, we're going to lunch or blah, 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 and give the information. And I'm sitting in this crowd. There was about 500 people. And the whole time I'm like, do not pick me, do not pick me, do not pick me. I'm freaking out. Anyway, I wasn't picked. So then I'm like, thank God, thank God. But I missed the lady's name. And the next thing I know, she's on stage and there'd been a bit of dialogue happening. And then she started to cry. And the trainer, David T.S. Woods, he's like, why are you what's wrong, like, and she goes, I don't feel like I'm worthy to be here. I don't feel good enough. And he turned around and he asked everybody in the audience, hands up here if you do not feel good enough. And I remember going, me. But what shocked me was there was this lady sitting next to me who I did not know. And she's just sitting back casually. Her arms are in her lap. And I was like, who do you think you are? Not putting your hand up, like, you know.
Yeah,
But then the next minute, I was like, you know what? I want to be like her. I
mm,
want to, if anybody ever asks that in a crowd of people, I want to be able to sit there in my own skin and go, you know what? I don't need to put my hand up because I'm happy with me. I'm content with me. I have become my own best friend. And it was from that moment, I mean, 495 people put up their hands
yeah.
in that setting, but it was that turning point for me that I went, you know what? I don't want to be like that anymore. I don't want to be this that I'm was doing at that particular point anymore. And like you said, we don't speak to our best friends like that. Like if our best friends are running themselves down, we are the ones that are going, babe, like, come on, you're beautiful,
Yeah.
you're amazing. So it really is becoming your own best friend. And it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you think you're better than anybody else. I mean, people who are self-assured, people who care and love about who they are, they just they just radiate different. And
Yeah.
you just have this confidence within yourself that you're like, you know what, I'm okay with who I am, and I want you to know that you're okay too. You're just as beautiful. It's just a different thing. It really is just a completely different vibe.
And the thing is, as well, when people are saying, like you said, and you looked at that lady, like, who does she think she is? Because it triggered in something in you that you needed to work on.
Yeah,
And I used to be that I'd look at people and think, well, she's boasting like she owns the place. Who does she think she is? Like,
yeah,
she's not even like the speaker, but but then secret, I think, oh, I'd love to be like her, but I just haven't got that confidence. And
Yeah.
it's like noticing those things and thinking, okay, well, I've just noticed that. So that's something I need to work on for me, because it is when people say, who do you think you are? Now I will say, I'm Brooke Bownes, the breakthrough queen. And who are you? I'd love to get to know you. And they kind of go, oh, oh, but I realize it's their healing that they need to do, and it's how they feel about themselves, and they're just projecting that onto them,
Yeah.
very much like with my mother, the things that she used to say. Because with narcissists, their inner child is so insecure, and they don't like themselves, and they project everything out. And the example I always use is like, when somebody's projecting out something onto you like that, it's like they've given you a vase, a glass vase. So it's now their responsibility. So if they drop it and break it, it's their responsibility, not yours. And that's what people do who haven't healed, who say those things. It's like they're projecting their feelings onto you because they don't want to take responsibility for them. But it's like actually noticing that about yourself. So if you do get triggered by a certain person, get to know that person, find out about them, find out their story, because there's probably a really good story. Again, it's back to that curiosity. Curiosity is just such a game changer
Yeah.
with people. And if you can then sort of think, okay, right, they have triggered me in some way, and this is something I need to work on. Let me get to know that person and find out what it is that's really is triggering me, because that will help you to do that work that will actually change how you feel about yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it really does just all boil down to getting to know who you are and
Yeah,
knowing, you know what, that you are worthy to get to know, even though at the moment you may not think it, you may not feel it, but just allow
yeah,
yourself to be curious enough to start to have those conversations to go, well, you know what would my life look like if I did think I was worthy? What would
exactly. Yeah,
my life look like if I did give myself permission to set boundaries and to say no or to say how I really feel rather than doing the people pleasing? So,
yeah.
yeah,
And for anybody that's listening, if that saying kind of triggers something like, find out who you really are, be yourself. Because I used to think, when I saw posts like that, I want to be myself, but I don't know how to do that. So if that does trigger you off, I hear you, and I see you. And it's getting curious about what is it that you really love. And an exercise I love to do, which people might find really, really useful, is to get a piece of paper, put a line down the middle, write energizers on one side and drainers on the other, and then write down on both sides people that energize you, places that energize you, things that energize you, habits that energize you, and also on the draining side. And then you can look through that and think, okay, if I spend more time on the energizing side, I'll find out who I am, because my true self will come out. And on the drainer side, either delete the things out of your life if you can, or minimize them or delegate them to somebody else who absolutely loves doing them. Like for me, it's tech. My tech VA does everything, because tech just like drains my battery instantly, and you don't have to show anybody else that piece of paper. So if you know people that really energize you, and you've got people that really drain you, and if you think, oh, I'm not sure who drains me, just imagine if somebody phones you and you see their name pop up on your phone, and you suddenly think, oh, okay, brace yourself. I've got to like be prepared for this.
yeah.
That's a drainer. And somebody, a name pops up. Like if your name popped up on my phone, I think, oh, it's Annie, like, and I feel like all energized. And that way you can get to know what energizes you and what drains you, and you can start working on that. And you really start to discover actually what you really love and what you don't. Because often when people have gone through the trauma and stuff, they lose themselves and they don't know what they love and what they don't love, because they're just so confused because of other people's beliefs. So that's a really, really great exercise to help people.
Thank you. It is. It that really is. Thank you. Because I even know for me, after I stepped out away and out of everything that I did too, the biggest and the hardest question I ever had to truly ask myself and answer was, what do I want? because
Yeah.
I was so used to people pleasing
Yeah.
and, keeping the other person happy. So for me, what do I want? Absolutely scared the bejesus out of me because I had no clue.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that that you encourage everybody to write that down and to absolutely just to go through it. And you can add, you can delete, and you know what? Your choices and that can change too. So I think that's really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. That's really awesome.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
if anybody's got like a family member that they have to actually spend time with because of whatever circumstances or whatever, or if they've got a work colleague, just try and like, minimize the time that you spend with them and try and if you have to spend some time with them and you feel drained, then go and find somebody that energizes you and spend a bit more time to help you recharge your battery in that way, because it will make a huge difference in your life.
absolutely. It definitely will do for sure. So, beautiful Miss Brooke, how can people get in contact with you?
They can either email me at brooke@brookebownes.com, and I do actually offer like a complimentary 20-minute call with people to actually find what's really holding them back. So if anybody's been triggered or it's brought some stuff up for them, feel free to reach out, and I will set up a time for them, or they can contact me either on LinkedIn or Facebook. My name's quite unusual, so I'm quite easy to find them there, but I will give you the links if I haven't already, so you can put them on the show notes.
That would be
But
great.
yeah, and
Thank
if anybody wants a copy of my book, it's available on Amazon in most countries as well.
Beautiful, perfect. I will absolutely, definitely put those links up for everybody so that they can go get in contact with you, where they can find you, and also purchase your book. So thank you.
Thank you.
Honestly, thank you so much for being on
Thanks for
Rise
having
Up and
me.
Heal. I honestly, I could just sit here and chat to you for hours. I really could. Because there's so much I think that we could probably both both be unpacking and sharing. So honestly,
Maybe we'll have part two in a few months' time.
sounds good to me. I love that. I love that. Let's do that. So, Brooke, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for doing this and sharing your time, sharing your expertise, sharing your story, and, really advocating for people just that they do have the ability to rise up and heal. And I love that you are out there helping people discover this in rewriting their story. Like it's so beautiful. So thank you so, so much.
Thank
To
you for
all,
having me.
thank you. And to all of our beautiful listeners, thank you ever so much for being on our Rise Up and Heal podcast today. I will absolutely be putting the links in there where you can connect with Brooke. And to each and every one of you, have a wonderful week wherever you are. And just know that you are absolutely worthy and you can definitely rise up and heal. So please take care of you.